Hey everybody, I'm Christopher Green. You're watching Greenwave TV, alternative media television. So what happens when the dollar collapses? More importantly, this bond bubble, the largest in American history, but really the largest in the world history, what happens when that just goes poof? When that collapses, when the largest bond bubble ever with interest rates down at zero, we look at the 30-year at around 3%, or if you've got $1 million and you've invested in the 30-year, the riskless rate, how laughable is that? You're only getting 3%, so that's about $30,000, which you can't survive on. So if you're a millionaire, you're actually broke. But that's why they've done it. They're forcing people to take risk, unnecessary risk, to push all those assets into the stock market or real estate to try to get some kind of return, which is only helping to influence and propel a bigger bubble than what we saw in 2008, much larger than before. Take a look what's happening at the Dow Jones Industrial Average today, although it's getting a little volatile. But what happens when this thing ultimately collapses? Well, let's say you have $1 million that's invested in the riskless rate at 3%, a 30-year bond, and let's say that interest rate doubles to 6%. All of a sudden you go from 3 to 6%, and that $1 million investment is actually worth only $500,000. Let's say it triples and goes to 9%. Now that investment that was originally $1 million is only $333,000. That's how much money you lose. And that's where we're headed. That's what's going to happen. Now, a rational mind would say, well, Christopher, then why would interest rates ever have to rise? Couldn't the government artificially suppress interest rates into an infintum, into infinity? And actually, that's true. I think they'll honestly try to do that because they can't let interest rates rise without the entire nation, our debt problem, ceiling collapsing, everything literally collapsing into a gigantic death spiral worse than 2008. So they'll very likely try to do that. But at some point, the private market, just like we saw the sovereign defaults overseas in Europe, in places like Greece and the riots, etc., Spain, Portugal, Italy, Ireland, you know, those pigs nations. You know, I'm trying to do a pig sound, those pigs nations. Eventually it's coming here to the United States. So what are they going to do? They're going to mix that with war. It's going to be a big pot of war. A big pot of bloody guts, violence,